So your case has to go to mediation, whether it be a temporary order hearing or on a final hearing. You need to have mediation beforehand because it's the court's policies, or you think it's a good idea, or your attorney recommends it. Great. But your attorney comes to you and he says, well, we can't fit your time into everybody else's schedule. How about we doing a late night mediation session via Zoom teleconferencing? Should you agree to it? Not the best idea. Why is the subject of this video. Hi, my name is Sean with the Palmer Law Firm, and today I'm going to talk about the timing of your mediation. Now, obviously, the timing of your mediation in terms of the date is going to have a lot to depend with the docket order that you have, or the timing of your legal action, be it a divorce, custody, or what have you. And obviously, you don't want to mediate before it's time to do that. And that's a topic for another video, but I am going to talk to you today about the actual time of the day that you have your mediation and why I suggest that you want to have that early as opposed to late. So the scenario I painted for you at the beginning of the video exactly happened last night, as evidenced by the bags in my eye. We couldn't fit in the mediation before our temporary order hearing, but we had a mediator who suggested that we might be able to do a late night mediation session via Zoom. So at 6:30 we began a session that was going to go from 6:30 to 10:30 in the evening via Zoom. Now, this sounds very convenient. You know, a lot of people get off late in the day. You know, if they work normal hours, 9 to 5, it's hard for them to take a day off from work. And it might sound appealing to do an evening mediation. However, it's not optimal, and it should be avoided whenever you can. There is a psychological effect called ego depletion or decision fatigue, and there have been studies on this, and it basically says that the amount of decisions that you can make are limited. And if you've been making decisions throughout the day, your ability to make decisions at the end of the day is going to be a whole lot less than at the beginning of the day. So there's been several studies on this, there's been research on it that shows that people make worse decisions, they make hasty decisions, or they just avoid decisions altogether if it happens late in the day, or if they've had a lot of decisions that they've had to have to make prior to that. So there was a study that showed that, for example, nurses were making more hasty and more expensive decisions for their patients if those decisions happen late in the day. So the amount of decision fatigue that happens has a lot to do with the kind of stress that you're under, the amount of decisions that you're making, and the weight of those decisions. Now, I don't know about a lot of other things, but I can tell you that if you're going through a divorce or a child custody matter, the weight of those decisions are about as big as they come. And you don't want to make hasty decisions. But what happens is you go through a mediation process, and it's a tiring thing no matter when you engage it. But certainly if you have it towards the end of the day after you've had a full day of work, you're going to be at a low ebb for your ability to make good decisions. And the impact of those decisions you're making in a mediated settlement conference is huge. And at least in the state of Texas, if you sign a mediated settlement agreement and you agree to the terms of that, and that mediated settlement agreement then gets filed with the court, usually by the mediator, it's irrevocable. You can't back out of it. So you've got to make sure the decision is the right one, and maybe you don't want to be making those decisions when you're at the low ebb of your ability to do that. So there's still some debate among psychologists whether this ego depletion or decision fatigue is a real thing. I can tell you anecdotally, it's absolutely real. I have taken on modification cases where the party came to me and said, I was just worn down in mediation. I made bad decisions. This is not something that's in the best interest of my child, and yet I signed it anyway. Can you please change it for me? And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't, but the point is that you don't want to get into that situation where you're going to be worn down to a nub because of the late hour. And another thing, even if you do have a mediation at the beginning of the day, there used to be, well, there still is, a lot of mediators who say, hey, let's have a full day mediation. There's so many issues going on. It's a complex case. Let's do a full 8-hour mediation with an hour lunch in between. I don't recommend that because again, the amount of time that you're putting into that is going to wear you down, and you're probably not going to make the best decisions. So I recommend that if you do have a complex case, that you try to get a mediation going at the early hours of the day, and that you break that mediation into 2 sessions if possible, because by the time you're going to get around 5 o'clock, you're going to be ready to sign anything just to get out the door, and that's really no way to make a decision. Now, if you absolutely have to have a late night mediation or a mediation later in the day, there are some things you can do to mitigate the effect of the decision fatigue so that you're not going to be making, disastrous sort of decisions. And among those things is, first of all, make sure that your attorney is 100% prepared, that they've created a mediation notebook, that they know what the issues are, they know what the goals are, they know what offers they're going to be making and where you're willing to go, how far you're willing to go in the negotiation. And in the case of last night's mediation, we were prepared, we were over-prepared, and so we had a good outcome, and we didn't have to go that late in it, because we did also another thing you can do, which is to narrow the issues and make sure that you have as few decisions that have to be made during the mediation as possible. Try to get as many issues resolved through the attorneys or through the other side prior to going to the mediation, and only mediate those issues that are kind of the sticking points. The other thing that you can do to mitigate decision fatigue is to avoid distractions. And that means turning off cell phones and all other kinds of distractions. If you're doing a Zoom mediation, make sure that your kids are being taken care of, or are out of the house possibly, or at least out of the room, so that you're not distracted, and therefore you're getting off your mental train. And also, obviously, you're going to want to take breaks. So a good mediator will say, hey, I think it's time that we took a break, and everybody kind of gets refreshed, and just kind of walk away from the decision circus that's going on at the moment, and get your mind off of it for a few minutes so that you can come back a little fresh on it. So there are some things you can mitigate about it, but those are things that aren't ideal, but they can mitigate it. Decision fatigue, it's a real thing, and you need to take that into account when you're going to have to be making some of the most life-changing decisions. You want to make sure you're making them right, and that your mind is fresh. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions about it, please leave a comment below, or you can contact our law office, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. I'm Sean with the Palmer Law Firm, where we can't protect your heart, but we can protect your rights.